Things continue setting up for the crypto explosion. Bitcoin and ETH likely to lead the way, with then massive money flowing into altcoins that have substance behind them. One of my favorites is Sakomi's OMI token, which we're here to talk about today in OMI is My Homies episode. Now, if you haven't already, make it rain on that like button. Strap in for the show. Help me welcome my co-hosts, Randy Chavez and Doctor of Stuff. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Hey, everyone. How's it going? How y'all doing today?
Amazing. Uh-oh, Doc, we got you on mute.
No, that's me. Sorry. What's up, everyone? I was just wondering how you gentlemen are doing today.
Doing very well. I got a second logo because of, and that's one thing we'll talk about later today. And I don't know what came over me. This is where I think most people are probably fine, but I've seen others this is where I think the addiction might come in, where like if you have that personality and it's like, I want more, it feels really good when you get it, and then as soon as it's over, it's like, I want to do it again and smash that buy button. So yeah, really dropping in like Greg Louganis, dropping in hot today on today's episode.
Awesome. Love it, man. Love it.
That's one of the challenges of VeVe, right? Like, let me ask you, can you even keep gems in your account? Or are you like me and you just look through and you find a deal and they're like spent within, even when I load like a couple hundred, even if I put like 1,000 or 2,000 gems, it takes me a little bit to go through 1,000 or 2,000 gems. But in a week or two, they're all like allocated.
Well, I purposely try to keep my gem stack low because I know if I have them there, I'm going to spend them. And this is where I think VeVe's turning point might be, and if it's not here like yet, it's very much on its way. They've had in the last 10 days, 2 days where I had 1,000 users and over, and I've noticed myself like buying more because I had a decent deal go through and made a little money on it, and like the first thing I do immediately, partner statue, gold logo, and I think this is a symptom. I don't want to say symptom because it's not a sickness, but this is a sign of other things to come. As the bull market goes up, as people get more money, they're kind of going to want it. And I've seen people already talk about it on Facebook, be like, I want to get this. Should I sell these? And they're not there yet. Like, should I sell these physical things to buy this? Should I sell X to buy Y? And it's money is flowing out of whatever they're selling, and it's flowing into VeVe. It's flowing into OMI. You have Wes down there that's, kind of being a little troll, like OMI 00018, yet he has a gold logo on sale for OMI. So clearly he wants to add more. He wants to go in and get it. So I think that as this market goes up and people have more money, and I did this the other night. There's no reason at 2 a.m, I'm going to the bathroom, just on the toilet, and I'm just scrolling. And there was a New York Comic-Con Spider-Man, the one with the little New York Comic-Con hat. And it was like a sub 100 for like 19 gems. And I didn't have any gems in there, so I loaded it up. And we'll talk about the app versus the VeVe.me later. But yeah, I think I'm representing a whole bunch of people that as the bull market goes up, as crypto goes up, a bunch of money is going to flow into VeVe.
It's funny, people chase green candles, and on down days, most people don't load in except for the true degenerates like myself. Like, it becomes, the hard side is it becomes like an addiction buying cheap. It gets so exciting. And then when it goes crazy is when it really pays off. And some of it is learning to rewire yourself so that buying cheap is exciting and chasing green candles isn't. Because the truth is, the way we're naturally wired is chasing green candles is exciting. Oh my gosh, everything's going up. Oh shoot, FOMO, FOMO, FOMO. It's not too bad if you're like FOMOing in this early as things like take off, and especially if the run continues, as many people have seen the last like couple of years. You'll have like a false start, starts taking off, and then it pulls back. It's not really ready to run. We're setting up to that period where the run just continues. I don't know whether it's going to be in 2 months. I don't know if it's going to be in 5 months. It's probably going to happen by the end of late this year, and if not, it'll be early next spring. because once every 4 years, crypto goes absolutely crazy, and we're due. Some of that is the Bitcoin halving, which happened last year, and the run in crypto happens a year after that. Second, another factor that really augments is interest rates coming down, and they are slowly coming down. The U.S. Federal Reserve has been really slow to bring it down, really slow. Like their rate is 4.25%, whereas Europe is 2%. And I don't even know what China's is, but China has been pumping massive money into their economy, try to stabilize it. And that's part of what drives so much money coming into crypto. It drives a risk-on environment. And as that happens, money's going to flow into crypto. And once it really starts to flow, tons of money chases, because people chase green candles. It's just what they do. And so things, I mean, Omi's run last year happened all within about a 6-week period. It went from there, it went about 1500x after already going
Last
2x.
cycle.
Last cycle. Yeah, back in 2020 through 2021, really it was like started late January, early February, and by mid-March, the run was, the massive increase was done for a total of 3000x that Omi's token went last time. So some people are like, I'm just going to wait. And it's like, all right, go ahead. But they don't realize how fast when it takes off, all of a sudden it goes 20x. And even if it goes a total of 200x, if you miss the first 20x, you only have 10x gains left. So it's like, that's why I just buy while it's cheap, and I just like set it and move on and forget it until it goes crazy.
Yeah, Rain, like that's something that I saw last cycle. Like I see all of these people and they're like, oh, well, you could have bought Bitcoin and then rolled it into Omi, and it's like, but that doesn't happen. People like don't do that. A lot of people who have Bitcoin, they keep holding on, right? Because they're like, oh, like I got to see when Bitcoin tops out, right? Like, but they never time the top, right? And so, and then what happens is Bitcoin has hit its top and it's coming down, and they don't realize it's hit its top. And they're looking, and that's when all of these other altcoins start popping off. And then, like you said, right, a token's already done a 10x or 20x, and so then they're like, I got to get into this. And then maybe it does a 200x from where if people got in at the beginning, but by the time they jump in, it's only a 10x, right? Like, and I mean, only a 10x. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to say that in crypto when you just think about like the stock market, right? But like, a lot of people here are trying to get these life-changing gains, and that's the concept that like we beat that concept to to a pulp, right? Like we're always talking about it, and it's crazy how many people still haven't pulled the trigger, and they're just waiting for that affirmation. They're waiting for that jump, that 5 to 10x before they jump in. And I get it, right? Like that's this risk reward thing, and they need that affirmation before. But they miss out on a lot of those gains, like when that happens. And for me, like Omi is this high. I mean, it's a lower risk in the grand scheme of things with such a high reward. Like it's so imbalanced with the risk reward thing there, right? Mm-hmm. Like the amount of so something could go to zero. Okay, I don't think that Omi is going to zero in the near future. So like that to me, it's not going to go to zero, but the potential of it to do these super high multiples in this bull run is so high that it's worth that risk to me.
I mentioned the other day on just one of my own streams is that when I was in the Pokemon business, there were a couple of, I don't even need to use that example. The other day, Nova #1, which sold out, and we'll go over the kind of debacle with that and held back mints later. But the other day before yesterday, I noticed the ultra rares were like $7. And I was like, if you go in and you like, that's how it wasn't one of these where it was like the ultra rare is $10 and the cost to mint is $7. And, there's a tiny bit of profit there. It was $7 to mint. And on the secondary market, it was $7. Like that takes most of the risk out. Like what you're getting. You're not going to get a common, uncommon, or whatever that's going to be below it. So I just bought a few of those at $7, and then it went like 13. But again, the risk is gone for Omi. Pretty much VeVe surviving their second bear market, and not just surviving in a way where like, oh, hey, wasn't sure if they were going to make it. Like Cryptoys, they say they're coming back, but we haven't seen anything from them. They haven't talked to. In February, they said, hey, we're working behind the scenes, we're doing whatever, and we haven't seen anything from them. So you don't really know. But for VeVe, that gets profit every day, combined with the fact that there's stories from Lisbon where David is taking out his credit card and paying for not just one person's dinner, whole group of people's dinner and a whole group of people's drinks. And I feel like you don't do that if you're shining the knobs on the Titanic. You don't do that unless you kind of have some. And again, the lawsuit, when that ended, now suddenly you have they're not worried about losing X, Y, and Z. That stuff is, they know what they had to do. And I think the risk is mostly gone. Now, again, obviously anything can go to zero at any moment. None of this is financial advice, but I'm up to 260 million now because I think risk is mostly gone. And supposedly we have a really big, what's that called? A really big license coming out in the next couple of weeks. And on top of that, on the True Group media stream that David was on the other day, he pulls out a 1 ounce piece of gold with a VeVe logo on it that he got from Agoro. And Agoro is a subsidiary of the New Zealand Mint. And he said, wouldn't it be great if all the gold logo holders got one of these? So I immediately bought a second one of those because an ounce of gold is like $3,300. And that would cost them at cost like 1.2, 1.3 million if they were to give everyone that had a gold logo or one per gold logo that amount. And a company that's going underwater is not going to do that. So again, I think the risk of them going out of business, the risk is so low, it's worth it for me to kind of go all in here.
So I'm gonna jump in. Do you really think that they're gonna give all of the gold and silver logo holders, like per logo, 1 ounce of gold with that VeVe? Give me a percentage. Give me a percentage chance. Because mine's like 2%.
If they do it just like if you have 1 gold logo or 8 gold logos, you're just going to get 1 piece of gold. So if that's the case, I would put it at like a 15 to 20% chance. And I know that sounds like fairly high, but the fact that David kind of said it, there's something else that the fact that David said it, and the fact that what would normally cost someone to get that is probably not going to cost VeVe for that. And the reason I say that is because they signed Alex Ross. Like, he had his 1-of-1 come out recently on Vampirella from Dynamite Comics. Mr. Rolex outbid me for that. I'm very jealous. But they had him signed for like 2 or 3 years. And they finally did like a 1-of-1 of his. I think that there's this really, like, we know that there's this really long tailpipe, what's that called? Pipeline. Of licenses that want to get on here. And I think that they could go in and say, hey, we'll shoot you up to the front if you give us X amount of discount, if you do this, if you write all this off. And they could probably get the cost down to probably half of what that is, because they could pay it off with the sales of certain things, like give us for the gold logo holders. Like Ron English, he doesn't get anything for giving us the free whatever each year.
But he gets the secondary sales, right?
And he has more drops than any other independent artist on VeVe. And I think that's the deal they worked out, similar to what they could do with Agoro. And on top of that, the community has been asking, and the licensors, I'm sure, know this, for other types of utility for other collectibles. And not all of them really get to do that. Like almost none. Like sometimes you have it with Marvel. If you grab this set, then you'll get this airdrop. But like that's it. So I think this might be their way of convincing the licensors, like, hey, if you do this, if you give constant utility, then this is where it goes. Like, I'm positive that Disney knows that they're probably the most significant collectible on this app, the partner statue, that double first appearance, is worth 20% or 25% of what a gold logo is, and they have to ask themselves why. And I think this is a really so I think 15 to 20%, not one piece for every logo, although that would be great. But I think everyone who holds it, whether you have 1 or whether you have 8, that's where that comes from.
What do you think, Rain? Do you think that VeVe would do that?
No, but I would love it if they did.
Sure.
Might they may. It would supercharge the price of VeVe Gold and Silver logos because it's, what is it called? Unexpected returns. No, inconsistent behavior that all of a sudden they're giving massive value like that. And so then the speculation of, well, what else might they do would go crazy. And so that is truly how you addict people to your stuff is it's called the law of inconsistent rewards. So the reason why people get addicted to gambling is the inconsistent rewards. If you're married and your wife is highly addicted to you, she may be highly addicted to you because inconsistent rewards. And so it is what addicts human behavior. And so for collecting, it's actually a really smart idea to give unexpected, inconsistent rewards more than you promised, because there's no concern when you deliver more than what you promised to. It just adding more value than, and it makes people really appreciate your brand. So that would be cool.
I think it's unpredictable rewards as opposed to inconsistent, because like the inconsistent. Okay, we'll have to.
The law is called law of inconsistent rewards, but it is unpredictable, which is why it works. So when you're talking about something like that, it's an unpredictable reward that all of a sudden would be delivered.
Yeah. No, but regardless of like what it's called, I'm trying to look at that because we've talked about this a couple times now, and I'm like, what is it? Is it inconsistent, unpredictable? Like I tried to bring that up actually to David when I was in Portugal, where I was like, I mean, we talked about the gold and silver logo and how awesome it is, and I'm like, one of the things that I think that these companies are so worried about is does it become a security if they provide unannounced rewards because it's based off of the efforts of others type thing. I think that's going away. Like as some of these crypto laws kind of become a lot more transparent, or they get put into place, and so there's more transparency, that's going to go away. But like I'm with you, Rain, 1000% that like one of the best ways to generate additional revenue is that inconsistent or unpredictable reward system where people then start to speculate on that. And it's fun. And are there people who get burned or they get frustrated? It's like, yeah, but like they can't stop themselves from saying like, but what if, because if they did, and I agree with you, man, if they actually dropped an ounce of gold per logo, it would like the price of that would just skyrocket, because then they're just like, well, like what else? Like, I mean, are you kidding me? Like what else could happen? And especially in the bull run, people are going to look at that and be like, okay, now this is changing hands. The price is going up. They have all these extra funds. What else could they do? You know what I mean? Like, and that's where I think all of these IPs are completely missing the boat, man, on like these airdrops. It's like something else, you know, like, hey, you've been holding this. If you hold this set, because like, yeah, partner statue, you know, it's even bigger deal holding all of the golden moments, which would include the partner statue. And they're saying, if you're a golden moment holder and you do this, then we're gonna airdrop you this panoramic golden moments thing of all of them together in this, you know, like diorama or something. I mean, like whatever it is. And then people are tripping out on that. And it rewards the collectors. When you announce it beforehand, you are not rewarding the collectors. And I like, that's one thing that really bothers me, like about like the disconnect between that phrase collectors at heart and then they announce the airdrops. And it's like, that's not rewarding collectors. You know, it's the collectors who all of a sudden, if they're airdrop something, they want to hold on to that even longer, and more people will hold on to that. So I hope that some of these IPs start understanding, man. Hopefully, like they're watching this show or they're listening to Spaces and people start talking about this more, because the income that they will generate from that will far outweigh any cost they have with developing a new collectible to drop.
Remember when they took Ritmo and they added animation to it unexpectedly? What was that? That was an unexpected reward, tying into a lot of inconsistent rewards. Like it was just added in unexpectedly. And the value of Ritmo went crazy. And so like the secondhand sales on Ritmo went crazy, and it rewarded the collectors that already had it. And then a ton of people speculated as to what else might be animated, which fueled more sales, right? So in a collector's app, good idea to give more unexpectedly than what was promised.
And then you have other people like Brock that normally he gives airdrops randomly for his fiches if you have, one of his fiches or one of the sets. But he just airdropped two things recently called Larry the Lobster, and Larry the Lobster's like his home or his cage or whatever. And it didn't have anything to do with fiches. It's if you had a Cora from season 1 Mermacornos, and you got that if you had it. So I think there's ways that other people, and I might do this for Decat, like if you hold a logo and you hold, certain Decat things, then you'll get airdrops if you hold the cat set, or if you hold the logo and the cat set, then you might get something extra. So I think other ones, because everyone wants to be associated with the gold logo in some way. And I think it would behoove some of the licensors, whether they be big guys like Marvel or VeVe or Marvel or Disney, or some of the smaller ones. Like if you have we all love Ron English because he gives us, those airdrops, those redeemable codes each year. So I think other licensors might fight to do that as well for the logo.
I didn't know it was for the Cora. I got 2 of those, and I was like, what is this? What's this for? That's fun.
For the Cora.
Yeah, that was fun. I got mint number 260, and
mine are like the 6, 7, and 8,000.
Yeah, my other ones are all terrible mint as well. I got another one that's 6697, and then my boxes are really, really high number mints. These are fun collectibles. Brock has done some good job with what he's done.
I agree.
Brock is still one of my favorite people because when he was talking about how much Omi he had, and he's like, some people count their Omi with an M in the word, and others use a different letter. Oh my gosh!
That was funny, man. That was funny.
I love him. So there's not really anything to do. Well, not affiches, but talking about penguins, and we actually have a comment down there from. Oh God, what's his name? Oh God, where did I go? Sorry, I X'd out for a second. It was from
New Jersey Jets. Randy, did you buy Pengu? Is that it?
So I did not buy Pengu. However, that's one of the things I want to discuss today. The Pengu ETF, the second meme coin after Doge, to enter the SEC review. And if Pengu can do it, why not Omi? I feel like we have a bit more utility than them, instead of being able to just buy, the Pengu or the Penguin NFTs. You can buy all VeVe NFTs from Marvel and everyone. We have a metaverse, and they do not. So I feel like what's stopping us from getting a ETF?
Price,
well,
market cap.
Yeah, market cap. Like the trading volume. That's another thing. But on top of that, man, Pengu, I'm sorry. This is where I get a little skeptical of like meme coins doing the ETFs. If I'm the SEC, I'm like, this is a serious space. This is real money on the line. This is people's pensions and stuff. I just do not see them taking the Pengu token seriously. That's great that you can buy NFTs with it. People aren't going to hold that in their freaking 401ks. They're not. Although maybe down the road, as crypto gets more widely adopted, maybe there's a space for that. But to me, that was more of just like a marketing stunt. I literally give the chance of that getting approved anytime in the next 2 years at 0.0001%. Seriously, there's so many other tokens that they're going to be looking at, XRP, right? Like, I mean, like there's other tokens that they can look at and say, should this have an ETF before Pengu or Doge? Now, Doge, honestly, like I still don't see it with Doge, but they do have that sway with Elon and that tie there, and there's like history with that. I still think it's highly unlikely when they're looking at and they're trying to say, you know, like what's the serious stuff here? Doge is still a meme coin, and when you're looking at people's retirement accounts, it's a hard pill to swallow to sit there and say we're going to allow people to trade on traditional finance markets, and hedge funds are going to be able to use this like a meme coin of a dog. Like and that's just me. That's my take on it. Being in the financial sector, man, I just don't see it. So OMI doesn't need that. Like that's the other thing. Like they don't need that. Pengu token doesn't need it. Why do they need an ETF? And that's where I think it's a marketing stunt, right? Like the reason that people like a Bitcoin or an Ether ETF makes sense is because there's enough people who want some of their portfolio in crypto and they want like a blue chip thing. They want access to that, but they don't want to custody it. Like they don't want to deal with that. They don't want to open up a Coinbase account. But if they can just have some of their portfolio in that, that makes a lot of sense. So an ETF with some of those really, really big market cap blue chip tokens makes sense. Anyways, I've been on my soapbox for a little too long, but yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
I just figured that if there's CryptoZar David Sachs had said like earlier this year, I think right after the inauguration, that this is adults are adults, and you're going to have to kind of recognize like which ones are not. Now he might have just been talking about like regular crypto, not as far as like ETFs and stuff with securities, but I think they had their 19B4 filing, Pengu. And again, I don't own any, so I'm not trying to like pump it at all. I'm just, this is the world in which we live in. And I think that goes live, or I think that can go live, I think as early as March of next year, if that.
Well, it can go live, or do you mean that the SEC has to make a decision by then? Is that what you mean?
Somebody asked this guy, Eric Volcanis, that said that they got its 19B4 filing via CBOE, and they said, when's the earliest that can go live? And he said March 1st would be the deadline. Said it could go earlier then, and if I had to guess, is that the SEC ruling?
Yeah, so the SEC has a certain amount of time, and they can extend, but there is a deadline at which it's like you have to come out with that. So that's what it means is the latest that it would happen is this. But could it go earlier? If they approved it earlier, sure, they could approve it. But yeah, latest would be March. But I've seen some weird things in this space, right? So like, I mean, take my saying for whatever, like for me, I put a lot of weight on that. I think that there's so many other tokens that they would look at first, and now we have a regime change, right? And things are looking a lot different. I mean, it's interesting, man. It's interesting, like just in this space, like whether it's crypto or here in Utah, there's these things called industrial loan corporations that we have, and basically what these are, like it's a way for kind of like these large companies to have like a bank subsidiary without having a bank holding company. And in the past, like a lot of them have not governments have not, or certain government agencies have frowned upon them. Basically, like Walmart had like one in the 2000s, right? Like they applied for an ILC charter, and like it just sat on someone's desk for like I don't even know how long, 2 years, and like basically wasn't going to get approved. So Walmart like pulled it back. But now we're starting to see like a lot more of these companies saying, hey, like the tides are changing, right? Like and so you're starting to see like a lot more announcements of applications that are coming in. So I guess where I'm going with all of this is although this is like I don't think that is the case, we still have not seen a lot of action from this new administration. I mean, they're pushing like regulation, they're pushing a lot of these things. And so now with new people in place, it might be a completely different tone at the top. And they're like, we are willing to do as many ETFs as we can. And we could get meme coin ETFs. It would be weird to see that. But I guess we'll see, man. Yeah.
I can't wait. So speaking of this type of, I mentioned before, I not only got a Gold logo, I got a couple partner statues as well. And I haven't been able to get to Cat their own VeVe account. And I want to give one partner statue and an AF15 ultra rare to that, but it has to stay in my account because there's no KYB. Is that something that should be a priority? Because I feel like they've been talking about this for a few years and we haven't really seen any headway on it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't think that KYB is like that big of a lift, to be honest. You know, from a compliant. Now, I don't know New Zealand law. But like here in the US, you know, like, I mean, having customer accounts, like, so with businesses, you have to have like enhanced due diligence, you know, like, I mean, and it depends. You might need to know who like the beneficiaries are, you know, because you can structure businesses and stuff where you kind of have several layers between you and the actual owner of the entity. And it's like, you kind of got to know who that is, right? Like with KYB. But I don't think it's a big lift for them to do that. And you're right that they've been talking. I remember David talking about that specifically because he was talking about some Singapore entity, right? Like at some point that was looking at buying a lot of these NFTs and stuff. And so then he talked about like KYB, and it's like, so I don't know. Like I don't have a good response as to like why they haven't done that or what the holdup is. But I do think that they could turn that up pretty quickly.
Okay, cool. Because yeah, I definitely want that, and I think it would behoove them to do that as well. Because you have other people that would just be like, okay, let's just put it into this account that is KYC. But I feel like there's a bunch of people that'll just be like, all right, I'm not going to try to run afoul of any of these laws, and they're just not going to put money in. And I feel like the more money they make, the better. I don't know how many of those people would be buying new NFTs as opposed to the grails. I feel like if you're going with a KYB account, you're buying MC1, you're buying, Secret Rare Spider-Man and stuff like that. But
no, I agree. If you're setting up a business entity specifically to purchase, or your business entity is the one that's going to be holding these, I don't think they're going to be speculating on drops. I think that they're going to be buying, the Golden Age comics, Silver Age comics of like, key editions, and then like gold, silver logos, like golden moments, the Marvel ones, like a lot of the SRs of like, important pieces. And I mean, if I'm a business, like that's what you're doing because you're looking at an investment as opposed to collectors are hard. They're looking at like, what do we think that long-term could retain its value and supersede its current value? And it's going to be the ones that are lower edition sizes of strong IP.
Yeah. Kuma, to address his comment. So David mentioned the other week about trying to connect with Gen Z. And Kuma has said that I really hope it's Dragon Ball Z. And I'm like, I hope that's true. Dragon Ball Z, I think, is one of those things that, like, it's still ongoing. Started in like the 80s, and again, it's ongoing now. Very notable, one of the best animes, greatest animes of all time. But they're talking like even Gen Alpha, which I don't know if David, because Gen Zs are in like their 20s now. They're adults, they're doctors, they're in the military, they're lawyers, etc. But Gen Alpha is really the ones where I think he might have been trying to reference kind of like the 8 to 20-year-olds kind of in there. And I was taking a look at some of the things that, like, whether it's Among Us, a lot of people, I think they put like Roblox or Minecraft on this date in history. So people were speculating that. They did Pac-Man. These are some of the things that, because VeVe, so I don't know if you remember, like a month ago, VeVe said on this day in history, Roblox came out, or on this day in history, Pac-Man came out. So a lot of people were speculating that. Pac-Man, I don't know how much Gen Z would really get that, but like a Five Nights at Freddy's.
I don't think that they get the Pac-Man reference. Yeah, I don't think so. That'd be interesting. I'll have to ask some of like my nieces and nephews that are Gen Z, right? Like if they maybe they've heard of Pac-Man, but like do they have any strong affinity towards it? No. But do they have strong affinity towards Fortnite or Roblox? Some of the things like that. I mean, absolutely. Like Minecraft, yes, right? Like 100%. And so, and so Dragon Ball Z, like, I don't even think Dragon Ball Z, like, like Gen Alpha is really aware of that. I think that is more Gen Z, like, that with, with Dragon Ball Z, like it was Dragon Ball Z was a little bit after my time. Like my younger brothers really got into Dragon Ball Z, and so like they introduced me to it, and I watched some episodes, and I was like, "This is a pretty cool show, man." Going Super Saiyan, I was like, "That is like their ability to like go crazy and then still step it up from crazy and make it feel like it was just like even that much bigger." It was, and then they would go like even bigger, right? And I was like, how are they doing this? I'm still like enthralled by this. So I mean, Dragon Ball Z was really, really good writing, man, good characters. I loved it. But yeah, if we're talking Gen Alpha, honestly, I think one of the like Gen Alpha is doing a lot of video gaming. Yeah. So like, I mean, that's where I see a lot of like that stuff. So we'll have to see, man. We'll have to see.
Good point. Rain, how would you connect with Gen Z? You're David, and he made this declaration. He's going to try to connect with them. Gen Z or Gen Alpha, what would be your go-to?
Well, so connecting with Gen Z is a long-term play because Gen Z doesn't have a lot of money other than what their parents have. But as you see with Pokemon, right? So Pokemon made sales of cards, and people would get their mom or their dad to buy them Pokemon cards. But later when they came of age and they were 30, 35, and they were doctors and lawyers, and collecting cards became a big deal, we saw huge amounts of money go onto Pokemon cards. And so I think it does broaden their audience if they get younger kids involved. Like, I haven't kept up with what younger kids are so into these days. So, it'll be interesting to see how to connect to them. That is a long-term play, other than, look, if they're releasing some collectibles along the lines of what that generation is into, they do have access to mommy and daddy's money. So usually a lower price point, and but it also might connect them for a long time to VeVe. Because they're in their impressionable phase. Like my generation was like Transformers. I still have an emotional bond to Transformers. Transformers, G.I. Joe, a little bit Thundercats, like He-Man. Like, yeah, I had memorable moments playing with my He-Man figures. And, I actually had one of the little ships that He-Man could drive around with. And it had this spring-loaded thing that would shoot. That thing worked for like 20-something years. Like back when they actually built toys well. Anyway, so just I have a connection to those. They can continue releasing movies of He-Man, Transformers, and stuff, and I will still pay money to see it. Might even pay money to buy updated toys from them.
They're so cool.
When Transformers collectibles that transform, I don't know, that'd be big. But that would be so cool. Gen Z play, yeah.
I would absolutely actually listen, David, if you're listening. Transformers and getting them and pushing it and freaking having Optimus Prime transform into that diesel, right? Or like Megatron transforming into that big gun.
Do it during the bear market when not many editions will sell, so it can be very, very minimal. So maybe there's only 3,000 editions of Optimus Prime and Megatron. Dude, that would be amazing.
Crazy.
I would go so hard on Optimus Prime. I love him so much. Gen Z, well, over the past 10 years, I think since 2014, do you guys remember Slender Man? Maybe your kids, Slender Man?
I don't know if I heard that. I've heard it. I don't know what it is.
So he's like, there was this game called Slender where you're in this forest and you have this little flashlight and you're trying to get these little Post-it notes, like 8 Post-it notes, but then like in the middle of it, like the really tall guy in like a suit with no face, Slender Man, and he runs like Naruto and he comes in and gets you, and it like took over the internet in like 2014, 2015, and then I noticed maybe like 5 years ago. Oh, actually, probably still in the military as well. Like Five Nights at Freddy's, where you're at this Chuck E. Cheese type of place and you're a security guard, but there are ghosts in the machines and it's haunted, and they come out and get you, and your flashlight only works so often, and it's really fun. You have to do it for 5 nights because that's a week, so it's called Five Nights at Freddy's. They had this huge thing. Like, I feel like horror the last 10 years has been so big for younger generations. I feel like that they might want to lean into that, but maybe I'm just projecting my own stuff that I want. Who knows? I tried to add gems the other day when David was on that podcast talking about I wanted to buy another gold logo, and I know it would take forever on the app to do like 240 gems, like 13 times. So I went on app.vv.me to load up the gems, and it wouldn't let me. It would show like the last 4 digits of my phone number, and I'm trying to hit it where it says text, but it was cut off, and it wouldn't let me turn it to the side. And I tried it like 3 times, and I was like, okay, I'm not missing this because I know people are going to buy the logo. So instead, I just got Omi, and all of the times, and I used Omi to buy the logo, but the rest of the time that I've tried to buy gems in that way, it still wouldn't let me. I would have to go in, like yesterday when I was buying Nova, and again, we'll get to that after. It wouldn't let me. I don't know if you guys have had that issue on app.vv.me, or if you guys, if I'm just being a big derp and I was doing it wrong.
I'm doing it right now. Let's see.
I'll show you what I got. Like the actual thing where it would. I don't want to show my card here. Let me.
Yeah.
Let me try to edit this out real quick. Do the markup. Do this. Okay, done. Save.
Yeah, I just added some gems.
Oh, okay. Because mine kept showing me
whatsoever.
this. It just kept showing the and I couldn't move it to the side. I couldn't pinch it with 2 fingers. So it wouldn't let me do like the text confirmation. So I couldn't buy it. I don't know why. I was on the desktop version. So yeah. All right, maybe that's just my.
I just added some gems. Just added some gems right now. Like no issues, went through. Totally
That
fine.
is maybe the good Lord telling me that I have spent enough.
I love it. That's funny.
Disregard. All right, so I guess I mentioned Nova before. Are you guys aware of what happened yesterday? Yeah. Okay. What's your take on it? Or if you could explain it.
What happened yesterday?
So what happened? Comics and crypto, they've been putting out these bounties, right? For different comics, like the mint year, and so they put one out for Nova. I think it was for $1,000. They were like, hey, if you get the publishing year mint number to match the publishing year, and I don't remember 1967 or something. What's that?
74 or 76.
Okay, yeah. So like if you got that right, then they would do it. Well, it minted out, right? So I mean, people were like, oh, like they were hunting for it, and turns out that no one minted it, which means that VeVe in their randomization ended up getting that special mint. And so there's a debate as to, with VeVe's randomization, is there a way to stop them, or can they isolate certain special numbers to say these cannot be kept in our like held back, like we're gonna keep that out of the public? My thing is, yeah, I think that they should be giving it out to the public. They should not be keeping those mints, man. That's just no. Like DC does mint number 1, right? Like you can get mint number 1. So I understand that VeVe's going to hold back like those lower mints and stuff. So, but you're already holding back those lower mints. You don't get to keep those special mints too. Like that's just not cool. If this is collectors at heart, you don't get to be keeping those. Like, I'm sorry, but you've got to, with each drop, make sure that you are not. Now listen, the 1-2-3s or the 3-2-1s or some of those other funky mints, those are fair game, right? Like VeVe, like, but like special mint numbers of the years and stuff like that, that's got to go to the public, man. Yeah.
I do know that it is random, supposedly, what they would do, but I also feel a certain type of way because at the time when I was going live, there was 187 mints left. And I was like, okay, well, times 7, that's less than the cost of the bounty. And I'll probably get a couple secret rares if I do all this. And then I was going live like, oh, shit, hey, guys, sorry, the next few minutes, I'm going to be buying this. And then I caused other people to buy it, thinking that they, we all might get an equal chance at it. But then we found out that it didn't happen. And it's like, thankfully, nobody's like calling for my head or anything, but it just seems like that would be a very easy thing for FUD, or a very easy thing. Like, if they're going to keep those mints, like, tell us which mints you keep so that it prevents people from spending an extra couple $100 for a bunch of comments.
I agree. Now, that would be the other way to do it then, is if it's going to be completely random, that they publish those random mint numbers and they say, these are the ones that were randomized and got in here. But like, to not have that transparency and then people think that they have a shot and they don't have a shot, that's not good. That's not good optics. And the whole point about like Web3, like, is transparency. And I get it. They're Web 2.5, right? They're still a private company. There's certain things that they don't have to be transparent about. They don't have to do this, right? But what's going to start happening is now people are like, well, maybe VeVe's holding back this special mint. Like, I'm not going to spend this money. And they lose out on revenue because of that, right? Like, honestly, you got to think about that. The people who spent $1,000 trying to get this, trying to hit that mint or something like that, or 2,000 or 500 or 300 or whatever it is, they're like, I'm not going to risk that again if I don't know that it's even possible to get. I'm out, So they got to weigh and measure that.
Yeah, it burns them in the long run because of that.
Yep. They make less money doing it that way. They're not transparent.
Great. There is, for the vault builders that are doing their amazing thing, we had a update from Collectors Gone Digital that had said before he has a partnership with VeVe Official, building various spaces for the VeVeverse, which I thought is really freaking cool. And we could speculate. I was wondering why David was following them. I was like, why is he following? And then now I know it's because they have that partnership. So I think that can throw into and we'll get into speculation later. Who else is he following? But also the VeVeverse, the mobile version, which most everyone wants, and I think that's what's preventing some people from going into the VeVeverse and using it, because I don't have a powerful enough computer to work it. That has been delayed, and I don't think we know when. Is that something that might be a big deal? Or is that something that is like, they already have this version out, we can get to it when we get to it, and it's not that big of a deal?
It will greatly expand their use of the VeVeverse if they have a mobile version of it, because a lot of people in the US and Canada might have access to a computer that could handle that. When you start talking about other countries, they often will just have a phone. That's their interaction with the internet these days. And even some of the younger generation, they're just going to have access to a phone. So it definitely will broaden things. But like, one of the challenges with the VeVeverse is that the resolution is so high, and that takes processing power. So it's not an easy problem to make it mobile friendly.
Agreed. I mean, I know that too, and I think one of the big rules of gaming, and I know this is a metaverse, it's not a game, but it's thou shalt value gameplay over graphics, and I don't really mind. And again, I'm from that time where 2D side scrollers were like the thing. That's all we had, before the Halo and before the big kind of metaverse like stuff. I don't really, not that I don't care, but I just don't value graphics in that high state that a lot of others do. What about you, Doc?
I think graphics are great. Like but like gameplay is way more important to me. for sure. Like I've played games that like the graphics aren't great, but it's so fun. Like Floppy Bird or Flappy Bird or whatever like that. Graphics weren't, but like I freaking love that, man. I played that so much, you know. So like if you can get a fun game, like the graphics don't have to be great. Look at Minecraft. You know, like how many millions of people play Minecraft on a daily basis? And like the first time I saw this, I was like, why are people freaking playing this game? Like this looks awful. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely gameplay is way more important. But if you can match gameplay with graphics, that's when you get that AAA, and that's when, you know, man, it's just next level. But like it's definitely not needed by any means, you know.
All right, so moving past that, then I guess it's not that huge a deal that we had a bit of a delay on it
for the VeVeVerse mobile. Yeah. No, like I don't think that the VeVeVerse mobile is what's gonna like usher in, you know, the reign of Omi by any means, or even like, you know, like it might usher in some more purchases if people can access it on their phone, you know, like, and they start using it and things, because then they're like, oh, I want this. I see this in someone else's space, and like I want that, and so they might buy some of that. But like I don't think it needs to be a super top priority for them. Yeah.
David last week mentioned the VeVeVerse, and when I asked about, hey, you guys have a really large percent of the supply now, because, you know, you burned the vault, you burned the reserve, you burned that $5.5 billion out of the business development wallet, and your guys' amount stayed the same, thus your percentage of it grew. And he mentioned three things: either him and Dan would burn some, or him and Dan would give away some of the founders' tokens to like the OGs, which I thought would be epic. And the other thing is, he said that they might need that because all the transactions in the VeVeVerse might be built with Omi. When do you guys speculate that we might see something like that? Is it like towards the end of the year they address it again? Is that something we shouldn't expect until next year? And at that point, is there really going to be a point if the blow off top's going to be this year and then they miss it?
Probably see something happen with that as crypto prices go crazy. That's when the pressure will be high, and it's like, oh, let's go ahead and make a decision with this. Who knows? Like, his answer was kind of surprising. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Am I like waiting on pins and needles to find out what they do with that? No.
Yeah, I agree, right? It would make more sense if they're going to do something with it that they wait until crypto goes up, because when prices are where they're at right now, if they did something like that and it created any sort of sell pressure, like let's see, he airdropped it some OGs, and some OGs are like, I'm gonna sell some of this to buy another token that I've already got a lot of OMI, and so now I'm gonna sell this. You create like some sell pressure there, which could drop the price even more, and it's just not good optics there. And so would it make sense then? But if the price was going up for them to do that, yes, would that create a lot of goodwill at that point in time? And because like if crypto is going up, there's a lot of buy pressure. So even if there was some sell pressure there, it wouldn't impact the price so much, and would create a lot more goodwill when things are going up as opposed to where they're at right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Doc, I know you got to bounce, so I guess just one last thing before you go. The S&P closed the month, I think, at the highest that it ever did, and then Bitcoin ended the monthly on the highest monthly that it ever did as well. When alt season, I feel like it's coming, but then Trump and Elon are fighting, and then everything went down. As soon as there's a little momentum, something just takes us out. Is it ever going to happen?
It almost seems like it's planned, right? It's just like, what? You start a war with Iran, or like there's all this stuff, like right as Bitcoin hits an all-time high, like what? Like what is happening? Like each time people are like, oh, this is great, it's gonna start pumping, and then it's like some pretty crazy news happened. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I truly believe, and I've put my money where my mouth is on this, that altcoin season is definitely coming. It's definitely coming. Like it just hits, history repeats itself, but like, but how's the saying go? Like it doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes or something like that, right? However that is, But basically, like it's never going to play out exactly like it did last time, but it's very similar. And that is why like there's always cycles, right? There's never just like a slow creep into perpetuity. It's like there's these ramp ups and there's greed, right? And like even though we know it's just human freaking nature. And so this is exactly what's going to happen again, is that Bitcoin is going to top out at some point, and then people are like, I need to get into these lower cap. I need to diversify. I want to look at other fundamental projects, right, that like really have a strong use case. And I'm going to start going into that. And that's why I love decentralized science. I love Genomes DAO. It's crazy what they are building, right? Like I got my genetic sequencing done with them. Like it is so cool to see some of that stuff in their token. I got paid. I legit got paid genome tokens to release some of my data on there. They made it so easy, and it's helping out these research companies. OMI, I think with digital collectibles, I think that that's a very strong use case, and I think that digital collectibles is going to be like a thing in the future. Web3 gaming, right? And so people are going to start looking at all of these different narratives, and the altcoins, man, it's going to pump, you know. And it's interesting, like. I don't know how long it takes, but I remember speaking with someone close to me. They were like, hey, I know you're into crypto and what should I do? And I said, well, how much time do you have to invest in researching stuff? And they're like, I don't have a lot of time. And I said, just dollar cost average into Bitcoin, right? Just dollar cost average, because that's, if you're not going to watch it, that's your safest bet. You're not going to get the crazy returns. And they started buying it like 35,000 all the way down. Right. Like, and they made great returns. And then another buddy of mine, I was just like, I think he put in 5 figures, like a decent chunk of 5 figures at like $28,000. Right. And like, I just spoke with him like 3 days ago or so. And he was like, thank you so much. Right. And like, he was so stoked on it. But the thing is the people that have bought in at some point, they're like, I've made my profits, right? And then there's some people who are going to cash out. They don't know much about crypto. They didn't spend the time. But there's a lot of people who have been here for multiple cycles, and they know where the extreme wealth is gained is in the altcoin season. And that, like right now, Bitcoin dominance is at like an all-time high, right? And like so, and I still think it's got some room to run. And what we're going to need to see before we get the altcoin run is we're going to need to see a decrease in interest rates. That has to happen. You need liquidity in the market to grease the wheels, right? And so you're going to have to see a decrease in interest rates, and you're going to have to see an increase in the M2 money supply. And when those two things happen, crypto pumps, man. It pumps, and like Rain was talking about, like, guys, if you want to hear a lot of cycle, it's like, right now, we're seeing it over like a week's time. Something might do a 2x, and over like a month and a half, maybe, or 2 months, 5 months, like it goes like a 4 or 5x, right? And everyone's like, oh, like a 5x. When the market pumps, you can get a 10x in a day, and the volume just goes crazy in a day, right? Like that's how much money all of a sudden enters the system. So, do I think it's happening? Yes. Did I think it was going to happen sooner than it did? Sure. But all that's allowed me to do is load up more of my bags, which I'm so grateful for, because I still think that this thing is coming. I love DevvE. I love OMI. I love Copi. I love Genomes DAO. Like there's so many tokens that I'm Definity markets. Like I'm really excited about some of these, and we'll see how it all plays out. But with that, I better go. But I appreciate everyone. It's great to see everyone. I love this freaking weekly thing, and I'm going to actually start streaming again on my channel here coming up. But anyways, you gentlemen have a fun time, and I'll watch the rest of the episode later tonight.
I love you, Doc.
Right.
Love you, Doc.
Mm-hmm. So I feel much better now. But Rain, if you want to put like a couple cherries on top of that, of what he said on one alt season, because sometimes it feels like the last few weeks before summer when you're in high school, you're just like, it's never going to come. They're telling me it's going to come, but I still have to wake up and go to school every day. Yeah. And yeah.
It does feel like it's never going to come. And that's where so many people go wrong, is they behave according to what their feelings are. And like the investment cycles wreck your feelings. If you invest based on what your natural feelings tell you to do, and that's what most people do. That's why the numbers are so staggeringly bad, that 89% of people don't make money in crypto or or lose significant money. 89%. That's a terrible number. And yet that's what it is, because they come in just to invest according to their emotions. And right now they're looking and they're like, altcoins are never going to happen, because the thing called recency bias. Like, what have altcoins done over the last 3 years? Go down. So what do they assume is going to happen? They're just going to keep going down. They look at Bitcoin and it's like, okay, Bitcoin's been going up for 18 months. So Bitcoin's just going to keep going up. So I'll buy Bitcoin. Altcoins, no. Altcoin season's never going to happen. And you hear a lot of people saying that. Why? Recency bias. Guess what? What goes down does go up. And what goes up does go down. And Bitcoin might top off this cycle at 160 to 185,000 if it's a normal cycle. And there's about a 50% chance they'll be better than a normal cycle and be a super cycle, at which point it might top out at 200 to 500,000, somewhere in there. Which, if that's the case, altcoins will go extra crazy and do an extra 4x on top of what they're going to do. The cool thing about altcoins, though, is that extra 4x could take something from 100x to 400x. And those kind of number increases are just astounding. And so, like, my audience, a lot of my audience came in about 3 years ago, and I told them about the bear market, and I helped prepare their expectations so they could do this right. So they could dollar cost average while prices are cheap. They could do the opposite of what their emotions were telling them to do. So buy when everyone's selling, and later sell when everyone's buying. And like, literally, if you just counter trade the 89% that are doing it wrong, you'll probably do pretty well. But on top of that, if you look at specific well-researched projects where they have a good team, they have a narrative that can make sense, that can really boom in a bull market, you'll do even better. And so that's what I've been teaching my audience to do. I'm really looking forward to how this bull market goes. I think it's still going to happen this year, probably late this year, because of the delay in the U.S. Federal Reserve lowering the interest rates. I think that slowed things down, but I think it's still going to happen. So you're seeing some good things set up. Like Pink Panther brings it up here. It's for rain. Robinhood announced that they're going to sell tokenized stocks soon. Yeah, Robinhood's very, like, they were able to last cycle open up, so they sold a few cryptos on their side. Of course, the SEC got mad at them, and how dare you do that? But what I like about Robinhood is so much of the younger generation buys their stocks through Robinhood. And so this gives them quick access to crypto without having to get new accounts set up. And they can actually move money from stocks over to crypto fairly easy, which, what's funny about stocks is people are like, oh, stocks are so safe. They are less safe than they have ever been, because all the baby boomers have been accumulating stocks their whole life. And now they're in retirement phase, which means they'll be selling off their stocks. So the 11% that the S&P 500 has done over the past 50 years isn't going to continue to be 11%. It's going to be less than that, because that huge baby boomer generation that's been accumulating is now going to be selling and not accumulating. So that 11% might go down to 4% or something. And people are going to start realizing that. And I think a lot of people will sell their stocks, roll it into crypto, which lends itself towards that super cycle idea. It'll be interesting to see if people start selling real estate too, which has had an abnormally large boom for the last 12 years in some of the cyclical markets within the U.S. So cyclical markets are like California, Vegas, Arizona, Washington, like Washington State, Oregon to some extent, Florida to some extent. These are like cyclical markets that will go way, way up and then crash down, and then go way up higher and crash down. A lot of those have been running since 2010 was their bottom. And so they peaked out probably in 2023, and they've kind of been like going down a little bit. I think they're going to experience somewhat of a downturn, and it might coincide with people then selling their extra investment homes to buy more Bitcoin and other crypto like XRP, and maybe even smaller altcoins. Yeah, Robinhood's crushing it with having tied into crypto. One of the first exchanges that really did that, and their margins are pretty good on crypto. So yeah, 25% of the revenue coming from crypto. Are they getting a head start on DevvE? Probably. And it's a good and bad thing. Like DevvE has a partnership with one of the largest exchanges in the world to be announced sometime soon what it is. But DevvE has the ability to tokenize assets on its blockchain as well for really high speeds, faster than anything, and really low costs. It's built to tokenize assets. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Tokenized stocks make sense because then literally the dividends can be automatically sent in, say, a stable coin to your wallet. That's so much easier than having to have bank accounts tied to it and send to bank accounts. Literally being able to send, dividends to your wallet address is such an easier thing to do. So I do think crypto is going to revolutionize stocks. And there's a lot of people missing the boat on what crypto is going to do. I know somebody who's, funny enough, like he's in the investment space and he does analysis for hedge funds. And he's just totally missing this. He's out of Vegas. He's totally missing crypto. He's like, yeah, I know a bunch of people got rich from crypto and they were just lucky, in 2021. I tried to explain to him, like, this is a 4-year cycle and this, and he's just like, oh yeah, that's luck. And yeah, so I know where he lives. He lives in a condo, in Vegas. So when things go crazy, I'm going to buy like a penthouse in that condo thing. That will get his attention. Because it's just like, how is this guy missing? I know he's smart, but like he's just sometimes people they don't really understand what's going on until prices go crazy, and then all of a sudden they have this moment of like, oh, maybe I wasn't seeing the whole picture. Let me open my mind up to take in new information so I can understand the bigger picture. And the truth is, Dr. Stuff was in that point in 2020 when I was trying to talk to him. And he's like, no, I know about crypto. Yeah, I know, but I have some ETH and Bitcoin, and I'm not interested. It wasn't until I was like, he's like, how's your crypto thing doing? I heard it's doing pretty good. I was like, well, amazing. He's like, you made any money yet? It's like, if you consider millions a lot of money. What? Like, what? So gets their attention usually, but especially because I was talking to him beforehand, right? So this guy knows that I've had crazy returns from crypto, but he just kind of ascribes it to luck. When I roll what I've made so far into much bigger numbers and I buy like a penthouse in the condo thing he's at, that'll get him to blow his mind wide open.
Yeah, I talked to somebody the other day that's like, oh, but it's fake money, right? And then granted, the dude's like 60-something years old, and he just, like, yeah, fake money. DevvE has a nice announcement coming out this week. They have their roadmap that I think will be by Thursday. They said this week, so it could be Friday, but that's the 4th of July, so I don't think they're really going to post something that day unless, it is. It could be as early as tomorrow, but I'm going to give them until Thursday just because I want to be a little bit conservative. And then apparently they have some type of other announcement within the coming weeks. I don't know what it is, but maybe a website or two. I don't know, but definitely the roadmap coming out I think will be really cool. I don't know if it'll have any hard dates on the roadmap, like when they're announcing certain things, but maybe just in order what they're looking to do. So pretty excited about that. When it was down at like 35 cents, I got a bit, but I noticed some of the accounts that were selling had like 150K and 220K. It was like, oh, this could go to like 25 cents. Like, I'm going to save the rest of my stuff.
Shoot.
And then it didn't. And then it just, I was like, oh, man. And at 41 cents, like, yeah, they're just letting it go up so they can sell at, a higher thing. And it didn't. And I was trying to explain to myself why it would go back down, and it didn't. And it reached 60 cents yesterday. I was like, oh. Which is great.
It's so hard to time the bottom because you just don't know where the bottom's going to be. And it's so hard to time the top.
Yeah. Anyway, I mentioned before that you have like every 5 or 6 days, VeVe has 1,000 users, each day. Most days it's like 700-800. Disney Pinnacle had this thing where I was part of it recently where I would be able to go in and every like 4 hours claim these like 2 keys. It's free. You don't have to do anything. You click a button, and then once 100,000 keys across everyone all over the world were accumulated, you can start for this one of one, and everyone was. So they're going on this app multiple times per day to get these free keys, and after like 2 weeks, people were able to put in, I think, up to 100 keys at a time in order to hopefully unlock this one of one. I did not have that many keys, so I was like 5 or 7 each time, and somebody wound up getting it, and they're not really making any money off of that because they're giving away one of one, and the keys are free. But that gets people on the app, and I'm certain that once a day, people that would not have otherwise been on the app that are now on the app, they're like, oh, you know what? This is $6. This is $5. This is $20, and they might get it. Should VeVe do something like that at first, just to help their numbers, because I think that is something that's been lacking and going downhill for quite a while, and that might also drive some new revenue. So or is that like, listen, that's Disney Pinnacle's thing for our own. We don't need to do that. What are your thoughts?
So it's an important metric if you're trying to raise funds, because like the way the tech world will look at it is they'll look at your daily active users, and then they'll look at your revenue and be like, oh, wow, those daily active users and that revenue, they could increase 100-fold from there based on the daily active users. So if you're trying to mess with your metrics to make it seem like your app is getting tons and tons of usage, you can do that. It's a little bit manipulative in that if you're just going to run that promotion during that period, you're going to have higher than normal daily active users. But like it's kind of fun, I guess, to reward people. Like it wouldn't be a bad idea. It's going to take brain power and manpower for somebody to run that kind of promotion and some manpower to update the website to be able to do that. Is a bad idea? Well, it will get higher engagement, and it might get some people that wouldn't otherwise be engaged to be more engaged, to get free stuff. There's only one of them. I would suggest that they make 100 mints so that people have a better chance of getting it rather than, okay, one of one. Why not make 100 of it? Like one of the things Off the Grid did that was really cool, and my friends and I got really lucky, is when they had that partnership with Bored Ape Yacht Club, they made a little mask that's kind of funny. It's like NFTs are crap and stuff on this mask, that's kind of hand drawn and cut out and looks kind of cheap, but they made a gold version of it, and they made like 100 mints, and you would have to submit through Discord some entries to possibly win one of those gold mints. You could only win them, you couldn't buy them. And my friends and I got lucky, and there was 100 mints. So, 100 different people got rewarded. So if VeVe ran something like that, I would suggest like 100 mints or 200 mints or 400 mints, just so more people can get the reward, even though it won't be worth as much for everyone who gets it. I'd rather see more people get it, and 400 mints is still a low number. That the value on that can still be tremendous. Plus,
Agreed.
it also creates a market for it. The hard thing when it's a one-on-one is, what is the true market value of that? There's just one. So when it sells, you know what the market value is, but only every time it sells. Whereas if you have 400 mints, like some will be trading hands, so you'll have an idea of what the market value is, and so people can make more informed decisions of hold or sell. You see it with the gold and silver logo. Like people who got it for free selling it, and so they're trading hands to some extent. So you have an idea what the value on that is at any given time.
Yeah, I keep checking like an embezzler checking his bank account like multiple times per day. The price of that gold logo. I was like, did it drop? Did anyone drop it? Can I get it cheaper? And I know I shouldn't. Like, 'cause I know it's like, hey, not now.
If you're trying to buy yet another one, yes. The challenge with so they were good enough to give me one, which is amazing. But could I ever sell that? Probably not. I'd probably never part with that. I'd never sell it. So is it a true investment? Not really. What is the value of it? Doesn't matter, because I'm not going to sell it. So it's like it'd be worth $1 million, and it's like, well, you only realize it if you sell it. But if you get a second one, well, then you can sell the second one.
There's there's two things that I remember certain people getting and me not getting because of maybe and I feel like I feel nostalgia a lot, but a lot of people in high school, they get like a class ring, and I did not. And in basic training, we had this little booklet at the end. You could take what meager shekels they gave us in basic training. Like, yeah, you could spend that on this. And some people like, yeah, this is like how I'll remember it, and they got it. And I was like,
You
I'll
talking about
remember
the books
basic
that they
training.
get that you could buy that had like some pictures in it?
No, it was like another ring. It was like these. It wasn't any. Although there was a video that you could buy. Like there was a video, but I didn't. I think somebody got that. And then on our like free day, we watched that. On our last 3 days, we got a day, day pass, and that was boring. It was just like us eating the whole time. Like it was so stupid. But there's obviously number 41 is special because again that was directly from David. But I think I have enough memories and stuff that I've done with David where, if the right price comes along and I could get more logos and support him, like I'm not gonna go sell it and then buy, a bunch of Disney Pinnacle stuff like that. I feel like that would hurt him. But I would sell it and then maybe buy a bunch of other logos or buy some Omi or whatever. And I feel
Because
like
your special mint number, you would sell that, but then you wouldn't take yourself out of the gold and silver logo club because you would still have at least one other one.
Yeah.
But you'd be willing to sell that one to roll it into other things that gained more.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that I think the 41 special partially because I have, but also that is the first Polish mint. But for the logo, you have number 41 or number 487. You're still going to get those redemptions every year, and that the 41 is really just for a flex. So I feel like I flexed enough, and maybe if that right price comes along, and I can get like 4 other logos along with some Omi, it's probably all right. Probably all right.
Yeah. So that you can buy a bigger reserve for your animals, a bigger animal preserve.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to do that. And Charles Bronner says an AF-15 uncommon for $69.
That's
First
so
off,
amazing.
Nice. But second off, damn, that is good for you, mate. Good for you.
I love this. I hope Trump has the treasury sell gold for Bitcoin. Just watch Peter Schiff melt down on Twitter. That'd be fun.
Speaking of Trump, he has given the
Abe. I love Abe's humor.
Dude, Abe's so chill. It's so cool. Trump's Justice Department has expanded efforts to deport naturalized citizens, and I was not born here. I was born in I am a naturalized citizen.
They're coming for you, Randy. They're going to deport you to Peru.
See, here's the kicker. I gave up. I had dual citizenship up until 2012 because in order to join the military, they had me give up my citizenship in Peru to serve. So now if they deport me, I don't know where they're going to deport me to. So 1, will I get deported? 2, where will I go? 3, how long will you guys wait before you replace me with another young, brown, handsome man?
2 hours.
Like, I guess the show must go on, right?
You're irreplaceable, Randy.
So somebody told me that, and I was like, so I became a citizen like 96. He became a citizen like 89. I was like, my guy, they're probably only going to go after the ones from the last 5 years from the previous administration.
And especially the ones that just like got cut to the front of the line because of stuff, and they're just trying to reverse some bad decisions. People that have like big criminal records is who they're probably looking at, which makes sense for the U.S. to do that, right? Especially like people come in and they somehow trick their way into citizenship, but they've graded like 5 felonies in the meantime. It's like, U.S. doesn't want those people. They want people that come in. Any country doesn't really want those people. Some politicians want the votes behind those people, and that's what that's about. It's bad for a country to take in those kind of people, but taking in people that come in and work really hard and integrating them, that's smart behavior. Taking in criminals and integrating them to create criminal activity in the new country. Bad idea for the people. Good idea for the politicians who don't care about the people, but do care about importing more votes.
Agreed. Yeah, some crazy times going on over here.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really like is that we're still early in an administration. For me, it doesn't really matter who. So like any type of rhetoric or any type of scares that one side would say like, oh, if this person gets elected, this country is done for. And it's been, several months, and I think we're doing okay. And regardless of who is president, I'd be like, now the other side can kind of see, okay, we're not all going to go, this country's not done for, we're fine. And I think as that confidence builds, they get a bit more confident in the markets, which obviously you've seen now, the S&P closing at all-time highs, which is really great. We are in Q3. What are your expectations for VeVe in Q3? And I see a lot in going into NFTs in general, so I do think collectibles probably go up a little bit before OMI. But what are your expectations for Q3 for VeVe, and does that affect me?
Well, so one of the big spoilers in our lives is expectations. So sometimes we set expectations high and then it underperforms those expectations. We end up disappointed in a situation where really we're better off. And so one of the ways I try not to screw up my life is not let my expectations run away. And so I keep a low bar. I try to find happiness where I'm at and like, okay, I'm happy in exactly my situation now. So that if my situation improves, then it's just like, well, that's amazing. And, if it just gets slightly better, I don't find myself disappointed because I raised my expectations so high and then it only got better by this much, which a lot of people do. And that's why they're like, man, when I'm a millionaire, I'm going to be so happy. Their expectation, their happiness is here. And they might find that their reality is here. And they're like, oh, man, well, maybe I'll be happy if I'm worth $20 million. And they set this expectation here. And, 20 million really doesn't make them happier per se, so much as they have more flexibility. They have more freedoms in what they can do monetarily. And so they're just keep underperforming what their mind told them the expectations would be. And they just continually finding disappointment. And that just comes by expectations being crazy and runaway expectations. So where is VeVe going to go third quarter? I don't know. Probably third or fourth quarter. By then, VeVe's prices will really start taking off. And green candles bring bigger green candles as people FOMO in. We'll probably have the altcoin rally going then. And worst case scenario, probably be by first quarter. I'll be shocked if it's different than that. Already that's been substantially delayed, and the right things are setting up that the momentum is ready to run on things when it starts running.
I know, and this is again pure speculation, but I feel like both me and you have done a pretty good job at dollar cost averaging down here, going in and getting a good amount to where it lowers our DCA to a much more respectable place. Is it okay? Let's say my DCA is like 0.002 now, and I'm buying a bunch down here. Do you think that's okay if it does a 5x from here to 0.001? That's still below the DCA average, but you have like 4 or 5x gains from here. Is it okay to sell there, or do you be like, well, the DCA is still lower than I would like, and I don't want to sell there? Is that a personal?
I'm not going to sell it at 5x.
Yeah.
No. Like if it only does a 5x, then I was way wrong on what I thought OMI and VeVe would do from here. So like when it starts going to a penny and higher, then I'll be looking at options. Now, should it go like say 20x from here and nothing else is run, yeah, I might roll some of that money, but that's not truly harvesting profits so much as taking my gains, roll it into something that might then have amplified gains. So if I take a 20x and I roll that into something else that does a 20x, that's an overall 400x. That's just smart money management. Whereas if it does a 20x, it might only have like a 10x left. Not so if I can take a 20x, harvest it, roll it in something that do a 20 or even a 50x, it's kind of gains are crazy. So that would only happen if OMI runs before the things. Historically, it hasn't done that, but it could.
Fair point. Fair point. I had diversified a little bit of my portfolio. Again, getting a new gold logo, getting a couple partner statues, AF15 common and ultra rare, because I do believe that goes up first. Part of my justification for that is I've seen dick butts and autoglyphs and moonbirds. They've kind of been rising, and I feel like, again, it's having the NFTs first. ETH is roughly the same where it was a month ago, but a bunch of collectibles that are on ETH or NFTs that are on ETH seem to be going up. So I'm speculating that the collectibles go up first. Do you have any evidence to counter that and be like, well, actually, I've seen X, Y, and Z, and that's why I think OMI will go up first? Do you think like it's...
I don't know what will happen. Last cycle, OMI ran drastically first. In fact, that created a situation where OMI was way up and the collectibles were super cheap, which was my trigger to buy, like, you know, Todd McFarlane's and other ones. Like, the app wasn't selling out even. And I was like, OMI is at these high prices. But like most people buying OMI don't realize there's this app with the first Batman on the blockchain. I think this app is a big deal. And it took a while for the collectibles to really run, even though OMI had gone crazy. So how to play out this time, I don't know. I've been buying things on the app lately because I think they're really undervalued. Some of the comics, some of the collectibles. I've been buying OMI as well for the past like year because it's massively undervalued. And I've been buying OMI for the last 2.5 years. But especially this last year, the prices have been crazy, crazy low. So thankfully, I've gotten about half my OMI somewhere around these prices. And these prices probably never should have happened. But sometimes the market swings too far to the upside, and then it swings too far to the downside. And I think that's what happened here.
O'Malley brings up...
I know I got to run. And
oh, okay.
I have to get to a few things.
All right. Yeah, so we'll end it here. Let's go in and everyone say goodbye to Dashi. I love you all. Class dismissed. Goodbye, friendos. Until next time.
We'll see you, everyone.
Meow. Meow, meow, meow. Oh, meow.